involving the recall petitions for Mr. Bolger. And Ms. Smith, do you wish to withdraw any of your petitions prior to our vote?
I am willing to withdraw petition 6. Basically, I will keep all of the petitions. I will keep petition 1 and 3. So 2, 4, 5, and 6 can be withdrawn.
I'm sorry, 2, 4, 5, and 6?
I'm only going to keep petition 1 and 3 for consideration.
And Mr. Lindsay, I need some Robert's Rules clarity here. As it relates to a person wishing to withdraw recall petitions, a petitioner can do that at any time prior to the vote, is my understanding. Is that correct?
I don't see any issue with that. I don't think there's anything in the statute that drives it.
Can I just say, last time I had to withdraw in writing?
I'm assuming you're doing it on the record here, so it's part of the record in these proceedings, and that would be sufficient.
All right, and as it relates to the need for any vote in that regard, is that required, or is that something that is strictly the wish of the petitioner as it relates to withdrawing the petition?
We probably should have an amended motion that would only consider 1 and 3.
Well, I will make an amended motion that this commission consider only petitions 1 and 3 for vote. And that motion, rather, should be stated that the motion for a vote as to only petitions 1 and 3. Is there a second to that motion?
Support.
And is there any discussion? I have some. I have the same concern in that 1 and 3 deal with the same allegations as it relates to the emergency manager aspect of the complaint of activity. Petition 3 does include additional language that separates itself from petition number 1 in that it has the language regarding the income tax. I still believe that what this does is it puts the commission in a position where we are effectively picking for the petitioner which petition is acceptable and which is not, or if both are acceptable, or if neither are. But I think that it rewards this shotgun approach, if you will, to filing the petition. I would like to hear Commissioner comment, if there is any, regarding the clarity of those two petitions. I will say that on their face, in my view, understanding the arguments of Mr. Gordon, in my view, they do provide adequate clarity to allow Mr. Bolger to mount a defense. I just go back to the idea that a voter in the voter booth, on reading petitions 1 and 3, would be left with the idea that they've already passed on petition number 1. Why are we dealing with petition number 3? I've already dealt with that language. So those are my comments.
My reply is, and may I ask the petitioner, are you anticipating circulating more than one of these to the ballot?
My understanding is that the only one that would end up on the ballot would be the one that is approved, that I circulate. Should more than one language get approved, I plan on shredding those recalls, because I don't need to that would confuse voters, is circulating multiple petitions with slightly different language. They weren't in here to hear and listen and see the discussion that we've had. But I was of the understanding, what happened in Benton Harbor is that they had multiple petitions go up before them, and multiple ones passed, and they said, take your pick. That one was officially, whatever one the petitioner chose was the one that was circulated. I had no intention to circulate multiple languages. I would say if one passes and the other one is close, one you just vote it down, or two of you vote it down, so that I just have one language and we don't come to that. I mean, if it's that close of a call, but then again, there's that rule about a close call goes into the petitioner's favor too. So, but that is my plan, is to only circulate the one that is passed. I'm not going to circulate multiple ones.
My other concern, Autumn, is that because the heading has been amended and it has been said that it would be appealed, and we were to approve either one or three, which I find clear, that we would present these with this heading to the state after you collected your petition signatures, and they would invalidate it because it had an improper heading.
Let me tell you, the only reason I brought the...
Wait, let her finish.
Okay.
I don't know if she's done with the
And
question.
so, taking all of that into consideration, I would like nothing, I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to happen to invalidate at the state the heading that is on these petitions after we approve the clarity of the language, but the state rejects it because the heading is incorrect.
Well, I plan on, the only reason I even brought up the heading issue is because it was in Mr. Gordon's 15-page thing, and maybe that was my mistake, because this was not an issue brought up at the first hearing. And so I assumed that it was okay, but because he brought it up when I went through his objection over the weekend, I figured, well, he's addressing it, I might as well address my side. I plan to fully amend or whatever before I collect signatures. I want the correct petition to go out before. I'm not going to collect signatures on a petition that may have an inaccurate heading or language.
Right, but as Mr. Gordon has stated, we have amended it, and his client hasn't seen the amended version. It doesn't have anything to do with the body of the clarity, but it does have to do with the heading. And so if that is appealed, and I guess the cleanest way I'm thinking that we can do this is to resubmit this with the correct heading and his correct title.
Am I going to need a new clarity hearing? Is it going to push it all back again?
Yep. Yeah.
But the alternative is, which I don't want to see happen, is that we okay the wording in this petition as clear, and that it gets to the state where it's going. And
Okay, then let's do it.
Throw it out.
Yeah.
Hang on, let her finish.
And that is my concern.
Then
And I am concerned that there will be an appeal, and we will be into this process.
I'm concerned with appeals too. Then yeah, that would be the way that I would go, is just we'll amend it, fix it, have another clarity hearing, and then go forward from there, I guess.
Are you then withdrawing your, all of the petitions so that they can be properly amended and resubmitted?
Okay, this is confusing. I thought that I had amended the heading first, and that we were just voting on the two petitions that I decided to keep out of the 6. What I discussed with Ms. Norlander was my understanding was that this language could be approved today, which is what I'm hoping, that the language would be voted on today. I don't want to withdraw everything and then not have anything voted on today. Then my understanding was I would resubmit the language that I already say it passes. I already know it's going to pass, so then I would just fix the header, have you guys come. You guys would probably, if the language passed, pass it again, because it'd be dumb to contradict yourselves, and then we'd go from there. That was my understanding, is that basically you can vote on the language today, but before I circulate, I would have to fix the header with the approved language before I circulate it, and it would have to get revoted on.
I have a comment to that, but I know Commissioner Rosenbaum has something on that as well.
No, that was totally under my breath.
Well, I'm deaf in that ear, so I didn't hear anything. Well, this is the situation. And correct me, Commissioner Norlander, if I'm misstating what you've just stated, because I may. My understanding is that Commissioner Norlander has a concern, separate from my concerns. She has a concern that the heading language that has been amended could present a problem in two separate ways. One issue is, if we were to approve that language as amended today, that it would be the subject of an appeal, which would cause delay. The second area of concern is the language is approved with the amended heading, with the original heading, and it is brought before the state, and the state rejects it, thereby making the work that anyone working on behalf of having the petition circulated lost. Am I stating that correctly?
I'm not sure. We've already amended it. That's on the record. I don't recall amending these before. I was under the impression that we were here to vote on the clarity of the wording, that the heading with our files in our office would be corrected because it has to go on the ballot in the correct form. I may be wrong on that, but I thought that that was our role. And then once this has been okayed for content and for the heading, because we have a whole listing of proper headings, and it's not Jase Bolger, I know that, you could circulate the petition. But whether or not I am wrong on that, I leave to those. I'm believing that's our role. So what I'm trying to say here is, if I should be incorrect, and we say we amend our amendment and leave the header here, if that is possible to do that, and we find that we can't correct it.
I'm going to lose my signatures.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Lindsay. And this may be in part because I'm used to just ruling on proposed amendments and pleadings, and so I summarily indicated to Ms. Smith that that amendment would be allowed. My question to Mr. Lindsay is that something that is more properly to be dealt with through a vote of all three commissioners, rather than the chairman of the commission simply indicating that it may be amended today?
I think there should be a vote from all three.
All right. Well, let's deal with that first, because I think that we need to get that issue out of the way first. So I do move for a vote on the proposal to amend the language dealing with the title of Mr. Bolger from Michigan State House, District 63, to the proposed amended language of Representative in State Legislature, 63rd District. And is there a second to that motion for a vote in that regard?
For the amended?
For a vote as to the amendment of the title.
I will support it. I would like Mr. Lindsay to refer to the law.
Mr. Chair, what the statute says is that the Board of County Election Commissioners shall consider the following: whether each reason for the recall stated in the petition gives sufficient clarity to enable the officer for recall sought the electors to identify the course of conduct as the basis for the recall. doesn't say anything about the heading, it doesn't say anything about anything else on the special recall petition. I think what Clerk Norlander is saying, to paraphrase it, is that it's quite possible that Ms. Smith could collect all 8,000 plus signatures. The filing officer then is the state. She could take them to the state, and the state could say, you didn't fill out the name correctly, therefore we're going to reject that. So I think she's trying to enable her to do it correctly. I'm not sure the method that this commission has the power to do that, though. It's probably something she should, in my opinion, she should resubmit a new hearing being held, and just do the thing over.
I didn't mean the commission did, I meant the office of the county
Yes,
clerk.
yes.
That would correct that heading so it would go on the ballot correctly as well as stipulated in election law. Before she circulated it. Now, you know, we've got the legal minds here. I am a clerk.
And the statute doesn't say that. That is certainly an option, is to administratively do it once what this board is charged with doing is clarity of the reason.
However, because it is not clear, my concern is we can approve the language should we choose to do so without the amendment as you presented it today. It can be circulated and rejected at the state.
Correct. That's what you said.
Oh, thank you. You know what.
Yeah. I would assume Ms. Smith would want to get it right. I mean, if I were doing it, I would want to do it properly from the go-get. As county treasurer, I know how important that is, and if you have to take it back or whatever, you take the time to do it correctly.
And my guess is that Mr. Gordon will appeal it if she doesn't do it correctly, so there will still be a time delay either way.
Well, that's been stated on the record.
Yeah, I think he did say it on the record.
I don't think I stated anything on the record with regard to appeals.
Okay, he's not going to.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't say I would or I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna discuss our
Okay.
legal strategy in public, I'm sorry.
I would assume you
I would say there's a chance.
Okay.
I also have a problem with approving today. After listening to the judge. And I know Ms. Smith will choose one and take it around, and I don't know which one. But as the judge pointed out, she could take both around and have both on the ballot, and that would not be clear. It's showing me that she's the one who's confused, and as to why she wants to recall Representative Bolger. And I would prefer if she would be clear and concise to us as to why she wants to recall it, so that we can present it, or she can present it to the voter in the most clear and concise way. Just one.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have another county clerk from Kalamazoo that has an interest in this. I was just wondering if I might ask him if he has run into this before with the heading and how it's been handled.
And if you'll come forward, sir, so we can make sure we're recording it.
Sure, no problem.
Yes, I'm Jim Snow, Kalamazoo County Clerk of Register of Deeds. As far as the heading goes, I'm trying to remember, of course, we've been fortunate, we haven't had the state filing yet. But as I looked at it, it would be my opinion, if I was trying to deal with this, that even if it was, number one, we may want to, at some time or another, just verify with the state as to what they're going to accept. I would hazard a guess that if you folks approve something, that's what they're going to accept. Because they weren't here. All they'll know is what this commission approved. But in the putting it on the ballot, the law is very specific as to what the title is to go on the ballot. So that's what has to go on the ballot. There's no choice in that. So no matter what's on the petition form, the ballot's going to say represents the state legislature 63rd district. So
With the
you know,
correct name on
Would
it.
it
With the
have
correct
its correct name?
with the correct name. I think that's multiple.
Yes, multiple.
Oh, yes. We had in Calhoun County, multiple petitions filed at one time. We just, about 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years ago. We had a total of 21 different languages filed at about 4 different times on one individual. And at one hearing, we had 6, 7, 8, something like that, different languages, all very close, very similar. We ended up approving 4 or 5 of them, I think, and then the commission voted, put the stipulation on that prior to circulation, the filer had to indicate to the county clerk which one was going to be filed, or which one was going to be circulated, that they would not be able to circulate more than one, to eliminate the problem of having multiple petitions. And, nothing happened after that. That was a suggestion of our legal counsel, corporation counsel, and that's what we did. Whether it was right or not, we weren't sued over it, so the law is silent on a lot of these issues, and it really is up to the election commission to make some determinations on this. So anyway, those are just what has happened in Calhoun County over the past. Sure, you're welcome.
All right, I want to say a couple things here first. In my mind, there are 2 separate issues that will require 2 separate votes, actually 3 separate votes, or 4, depending on how you count it. There are 2 petitions that are before us right now, petitions 1 and 3. And the 2 issues are voting up or down the amendment of the title and voting up or down the petitions as to the clarity in the language. I want to be very clear where I stand on this. I don't have any problem with the amendment of the title today. I think that is form, it goes to form rather than to substance, and I think that is something that, to my understanding, and Ms. Norlander can correct me if I'm wrong, let's say that James P. Bolger was submitted rather than James Bolger. Is it correct that your office would simply, prior to the circulation of the petitions, amend that to James Bolger, or how would that work? How does that work?
Whatever language you approve, then they can circulate. We will meet with the petitioner before circulating to get the proper title of the office. When it comes to when the state, if they were to certify that the minimum number of languages are valid, then it comes to the county to place it on the ballot. The first part of a recall question is the actual language that you're approving here today. So that would say James P. Bolger. That's fine. Then the next part on the ballot, same question, is the justification of concept, which the office holder has up to 200 words to respond. Then the question would be, shall we read it to you? Shall, and we would use, as in the past, with the Hunt recall, we use the person's name as they chose it on their affidavit of identity when they last ran for that office. So, James, on the November 2010 ballot, used James Bolger. So the question would read, shall James Bolger be recalled from the office of Representative
In the state legislature.
Right. Representative Davis, the 63rd District. And we have posted with that, with the amendment 1, the language was supervisor Atkins, and we used shall Gene R. Gene Atkins be recalled. With the treasurer, it was treasurer Teresa Day. The question was shall Teresa L. Day, because that's what she used on the ballot in November. Same way with trustee Andy Sims, the question read shall Alexander Sims, because that's how he chose to be on the ballot in November.
Well, go ahead, sir.
So following that through, we did not need to have an amendment. So I would, if I could make a motion to unamend.
Well, the vote, the motion that I have is whether to amend or not, to allow the amendment or not. So you can say,
Apparently that's a moot point, but that's what I'm hearing.
it seems that way. Now, I know that Mr. Gordon has argued differently, and we have given the petitioner an opportunity to speak to these issues, and I know Mr. Gordon would like to have that chance, and I think that that's appropriate, so have that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You know, we're talking all these hypotheticals and about amending the petition in the clerk's office after approved by the board, about what Kalamazoo may or may not have done several years ago. You know, I would bring it back to what's pending before you today. The petition that was filed, the petition that my client received notice of, is pending before you today, and that does not contain the proper identifier for the office whose recall is being sought, period. I don't think by some kind of administrative magic, with all due respect to the clerk and her staff, that you can, after the fact, go back and say, well, here's what this 3-member election commission voted on, but I'm going to sit here in the back room and administratively change this petition that you voted on. I don't think they can do that. I think that procedurally, what you have before you is a petition that was filed without the proper identifier of the office. I think that if the filer wants to amend and correct that and refile it, that's her option. But the election law, with regard to the format of the petition, the recall statute refers specifically to 544C and says it shall be in this form. You're approving the petitions, and you're approving the language, and part of that is to identify the office. I don't see how you can remove the proper designation of the office from the language stating the reasons for recall. It's all inextricably intertwined.
Let me ask you a separate question before you sit down. What is your position on the ability of the petitioner at any time before the vote to withdraw petitions?
You know, I've never seen that done. And like I pointed out, I've been in the election business for about 30 years, and this is unique. I've not seen it done before. I guess if the petitioner wants to ask the board to not consider things she's filed, then I would guess she has that prerogative. What she doesn't have the prerogative of is saying, oh, by the way, I want to change these around a little bit, and so, thank you.
All right. Well, let me again go back to what my position is, which is I do think that we can allow a vote as to the proposed amendment to the heading. And the commissioners can decide for themselves, yes or no. She can or she can't. I understand what Mr. Gordon is saying as it relates to that being done administratively later. I agree with that. It seems to me that it's more proper to either submit it how you want it to be on the petition or ask for it to be amended, but those are your choices, and you're going to live or fall by what your choice is. So I agree that sort of thing would not be properly, in my mind, not dealt with administratively. Correcting something as specific as the title. Now, an initial or not initial, first name, not first name, I don't think that to me is entirely formal and substantive, but I don't think that matters at all, whether that's done administratively or not. And I said I wanted to be clear on the record of what my position is. So as it relates to the second matter before us, which is approving for not approving the clarity of petitions 1 or 3, if that is brought to a vote today. It is my position, again, that I have to deal with the clarity issue as it relates not only to the office holder and the people signing the petition, but also, most importantly, in my view, the people in the voter booth. And as 1 and 2 read, in my view, to submit those both to the... Did I say 1 and 2? As 1 and 3 read, to submit those to the voters would be unclear. And I want to indicate that I understand what the Kalamazoo clerk has indicated that he's done. But that really isn't important to me, and it's not important to me because there hasn't been an appellate court that's passed on it. We have 83 counties in the state, and 83 counties to deal with this in any number of different ways. And that's why, for me, the most important thing to go to is the statute and the case law. Both published case law and unpublished case law. And that is silent. So I go back to the idea that I need to assume that a person that is submitting language for a recall petition is submitting that for a reason. And he or she is submitting that language because he or she wants that language on the ballot. Everything that is submitted for a vote, that person wants on the ballot. And if that person wants these 2 similar allegations on the ballot, in my view, that's unclear, per se. And that's where I'm at. Any other commissioner comment before we vote on the 2 matters before us?
I believe that the petitioner said that she would place 1 on the ballot.
And I understand that. I understand that she's saying that, and that's fine. What I'm dealing with is a situation where we are here as an election commission dealing with petitions that are submitted for our consideration. And I am assuming when I come through the door to sit down at this table that the person who has submitted this petition language wants it approved. And if the petitioner is saying, well, you approve it all and then I'll take my pick, I don't believe it works that way. And if it does work that way in some counties, I don't think that should work that way in Calhoun County. Submit the petition language that you want on the ballot. And if you want that language on the ballot, and if it is clear, then it will be approved. Multiple petitions can be submitted according to the case law. But if you're going to submit multiple petitions, in my view, they have to be for different allegations. And that is not the case with petitions 1 and 3. And that's what I'm at.
Let me just conclude my remarks by saying that the recall statute is silent on so many issues that it's almost impossible for us to sit here and make an educated decision on what we're doing. And I would strongly suggest that when this is all said and done, the Clerks Association, as we have tried so many times, to get this cleaned up, or the people that are in the legislature right now clean it up so that we don't have to spend my summer and your summer and your summers at recall hearings. I have grave concerns at this point that we get through our county process and the state may reject it, and I don't want to see that happen. I have no problem with the clarity of the language, none.
Any additional comments? Well, once again, I am moving for a vote as to first on petition number 1. And I suppose this will be 4 separate votes. I'm moving for a vote as to petition number 1 as to the motion to amend the title of Mr. Bolger from that, as it reads in the petition, Michigan State House District 63, to the proposed new title, Representative in State Legislature, 63rd District. Is there support for that motion?
I'll support.
And I believe we've discussed it, but is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the vote as to that issue on petition number 1?
And how should we answer?
Amend or not amend?
Okay, Judge Stacknet,
Amend.
Clerk Norlander,
Not amend.
and Treasurer Rosenbaum.
Amend.
All right. The petition language in petition 1 is amended to representative in state legislature, 63rd district, and that is as to the office. That same, I make the motion for that same vote to be had as it relates to petition number 3, amending that same language in the same way as I just indicated with petition 1. And is there support for that?
I'll support it.
And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, if the clerk will call the roll call vote.
Clerk Norlander,
Not amend.
Treasurer Rosenbaum,
Amend.
Judge Stacknet.
Amend. So the language, again, in petition 3 as it relates to the title of Mr. Bolger is amended, as I've earlier indicated. Now, the vote will be as to the, I'm making a motion that the petitioner, that the commissioners vote clear or unclear as to first amended number 1, and then clear or unclear as to amended number 3. And is there support for those two motions?
Support.
And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk call the roll call vote first as it relates to petition number 1 as amended?
Okay, Treasurer Rosenbaum,
You like some first.
Clear.
Judge Stacknet,
Unclear.
Clerk Norlander.
Clear.
All right, petition number 1 is found to be clear, and that is petition number 1 is amended. And as it relates to petition number 3 as amended, will the clerk call the roll call vote on the issue of clarity?
Judge Stacknet,
Unclear.
Clerk Norlander,
Clear.
Treasurer Rosenbaum.
Clear.
And petition number 3 as amended is found to be clear and is approved. So, as I understand it, petition number 1 and petition number 3 as amended are approved as to clarity. And on the scripture. Are there any, I'm sorry.
And the heading?
The heading is, we've indicated,
We already did that.
the heading is representative of the state legislature, 63rd district. Are there any announcements by the, any members of the commission or by the clerk's office?
I have just been curious as to which one you'll circulate.
1.
One.
All right, so I understand the petitioner's indicated her intention to circulate amended petition number 1.
Yes, that's correct.
Is it then your intention to not circulate amended petition number 3?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Are there any additional announcements by any of the commissioners or by the clerk's office?
I'd like to ask our secretary for our, I guess, no, because everything passed. No.
Well, there is an opportunity for the office holder to appeal, should he wish to do so. Any appeal as to the decision of this board must be done within 10 days to the Circuit Court of Calhoun County. And are there any additional announcements? Then we are adjourned. Thank you.
They withdrew Shoemakers.
Huh?
They withdrew Tanya's.
No, that's refiled.
Oh, it is? It's been
That's what I mean, is that one coming up here?
But not me, 'cause we don't live in Kalamazoo County.
Oh, so Van Buren.
Van Buren County. Yeah.
Right.